Welcome to the DTC Insider Podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisenthal.
Today we have a really interesting episode and very relevant for Q4, as today we're going to discuss with Jack Melber, who has kicked his career off in the early days of e-commerce selling skateboards, sunglasses, and more. Facebook ads were barely a thing at the time, and it was all about community building. He then spent a few years working in and studying user experience and interaction design. During the time, he was privileged to consult on projects with companies like GoPro, Mozilla, and LG, pretty big ones, right? So in 2015, he returned to marketing, advertising, and growth with a broader appreciation for aesthetics and usability, as well as a desire to help create products that improve everyday life. Since then, he has been running the marketing shop at Nomad with a particular focus on customer acquisition, retention, and PR strategies. That's a lot, right? But before talking to him, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by BSR Digital. At BSR Digital, we help e-commerce brands that want to scale their business to a next level for Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads. Yes, after the iOS 14 update, that's crazy, right? Now more than ever, we need to understand that it's really important to level up the marketing and design a solid strategy, as what used to work doesn't anymore. So if your e-commerce brand lacks a solid plan and professional team to increase sales, we can help the same way we have helped more than 1,000 brands like yours for over a decade. To learn more, you can visit us at bsrdigital.com, or you can also email us at hello@bsrdigital.com. Now, as promised, I have Chuck here with me. Hey, Chuck, thanks for being on the show.
Brian, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be chatting with you today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about this conversation because what a story, man. You've been around for a long time, and it seems like you don't get tired of the advertising space, right?
No, I've been doing it for about 10 years now, and the advertising space is ever changing. Like you mentioned in the intro, I started, selling skateboards and sunglasses when Facebook was, you could have a business profile as a Facebook or on Facebook, but it wasn't really any advertising opportunities available. And the company I worked at was actually based in Palo Alto, right below the original Facebook headquarters. So I was able to kind of leverage the proximity to Facebook to learn a lot about the early days of the advertising platform. And, as you and everybody else knows, it's changed a heck of a lot in the 10 years since then.
Yeah. Everything changes, but this year has been a little bit particular. Last year too. So what's your take on that? The space is changing a lot. So what do you think about it?
So with iOS 14.5 and 15 and so on, we've all talked ad nauseum now about the lack of pixel data, the difficulty with tracking. We've had a lot of people panicking about what they're going to do now that they can't effectively advertise on Meta or Facebook or Instagram. And for me, working at a company, Nomad, that specializes in iPhone and Apple Watch accessories, it's been a particularly interesting time. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's a lot of panic without a lot of need for it. It's just people are losing dashboard level performance metrics instead, and should be looking elsewhere to kind of justify their performance on their ad spend.
Yeah, it's crazy. We in the agency, we see a lot of time, like we are using like a sort of a broken platform or broken reporting platform, at least because we cannot, it's tricky to do your job if you don't have the right data in front of you. And so what can brands do about it? Do you still measure the same things you used to measure in the past? Or do you take a different approach to measuring things?
Yeah. So for me, the platform by platform dashboards, like you said, they're not giving back the same metrics that I used to operate on. For me, it was always about ROAS and a bit looking at CPAs. But I always looked at it on a platform by platform basis versus taking a holistic look, which is probably what I should have been doing anyways. But iOS 14.5 kind of pushed me to, okay, now I have to take that holistic look at all my advertising and see how effective it is across the board for Nomad. So rather than looking at just like, okay, I spent this much money on Facebook, what was my ROAS? Or I spent this much money on TikTok, what was my ROAS? It's now I'm looking at my marketing efficiency ratio, or MER, and how much money I'm spending across the board and how that relates to our total e-commerce revenue. And taking a step back like that has kind of freed me more than anything. Because before I was always so chained to the Meta performance metrics and knowing or presuming, I should say, that for every dollar I spend, I'm getting 3 or more or 5 or more back. from the Meta ecosystem and just kind of being stuck to that and being scared of trying anything else. But now it's like, okay, I don't have that data, that kind of justification. So I've taken a step back and I've spread my wings a bit, and we're advertising all over the place now. We're doing we're actually doing a truck, like those billboard trucks you'll see in Vegas and stuff. We're testing that out right now in New York. We're doing physical mailers. We've tested podcast advertising, YouTube advertising, TikTok, Snap, Pinterest. I've diversified quite a bit in the past year and a half.
Yeah, it's what we see across the board too with our clients and with everyone we talk here in the show as well. It's like we need to diversify, right? We have, I don't know if we have had it easy, but I mean,
we have
in perspective
honestly,
now, probably it was like the little tricks and tactics that used to work, they don't work anymore, and we need to level up the marketing, and we need to also probably do something else, but only paid ads. So if you want, we can dive deeper into that. So what can brands do? I mean, let's put things in context. We are here in Q4, big commercial dates coming ahead, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and many others. So pretty big thing for e-commerce brands, especially this year with everything they've been struggling with, supply chain issues, the inventory costs going up, inflation, recession, you name it, right? Many things besides iOS 14 updates and all this stuff. Yep. That's a lot for a year, right? So what can brands do? What are some of the channels that you guys leverage that they could leverage too?
So for me, one thing I implemented early on when the iOS 14 kicked into gear was a post-purchase survey. So I have that running right now on my Shopify. After you finish your checkout, there's a little survey that pops up, and it's just asking people, hey, where did you first learn about Nomad? And it's been really illuminating for me. It's been also like kind of not a guiding light, but it's been extremely helpful in making a decision on where I'm allocating advertising dollars. Because if I look just at my Meta dashboard, my Facebook dashboard, and my return on spend, it doesn't match up with what the data that I'm getting from consumers directly is. I'm learning that not the vast majority, but at least 30% of our customers are discovering Nomad via Facebook and Instagram. So it allows me to then say, okay, cool, the advertising dollars that even though they're not matching up with my KPIs that I was hoping for in the Meta dashboard, they're effective because people are still learning about Nomad via those platforms. So I think having some sort of post-purchase survey is really helpful just to kind of just be a reality check on your data, what you're seeing on the dashboards, but then also what you're seeing in GA, and just kind of putting it all together and reconciling it in your head more than anything. But as far as like channels, like email marketing, as always, is going to be big this fall. SMS for a lot of brands probably will be a big deal. For me, I'm not as bullish on SMS just because as a consumer, I really dislike getting texted. But I know a lot of other companies are doing or driving a lot of revenue through SMS. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be leveraging that as well.
Okay. So email marketing. So let's assume some people listening do have a list in place, do have email marketing in place, and some of them they don't, right? So some they want to level up and some they want to get started, right? So what tool do you recommend if it could be one or more, right? And how can they get started? Let's say some of them, they have an email list, some of them, they don't, right?
Tool, there's a whole bunch out there, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Bronto, Klaviyo is the one I use, I'm a huge fan of, but you got to do a little bit of research and find the one that's best for you. So if you don't have an email platform or email marketing game going yet, like stop whatever you're doing and just set something up today. At the very least, you want to have like a browse abandonment and a cart abandonment flow running, some sort of email capture, because now it's so hard to get first party data. So you need to be able to capture that email from people that are visiting your site, even if they're not purchasing on the first visit, and get that stuff rocking and rolling ASAP. Because at the end of the day, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday performance is going to be predicated on your existing audience versus your advertising dollars on Facebook or elsewhere. That time of year, CPMs just go through the roof, so it's going to be really hard to break through. But try to start building out that list now if you haven't already, and if you have one, do your darndest to grow it as much as you can going into Q4, going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Okay, so you mentioned a couple of terms, and I wanted to do a quick recap on them just in case someone listening to know what we are talking about, right? So you mentioned a few flows, and then you mentioned first-party data, right? So on Klaviyo, you have the automated flows that you can, for those listening, right, you have the flows that you can set up and those are automated. You set up a sequence of emails that will be triggered after someone, I don't know, performs an action,
An
right?
action, yeah. It can
Yeah.
be pretty much whatever you want. Like they could visit a specific product page. They could visit your website and just disappear. They could add stuff to their cart and then abandon. There's all kinds of triggers available within Klaviyo or within most of these email marketing platforms that'll allow you to set up evergreen flows that are just running in the background and just driving revenue. Once you set it up, you don't really have to do anything with it until you want to refresh the content, but you can let it ride for a while.
So there are a lot of flows they can install. So probably they shouldn't be going crazy and creating 1,000 flows from the get-go. So which ones do you recommend they set up first? You mentioned a few ones, right?
Yeah, at a bare minimum, you want to have a cart abandonment because that one's the people that have spent so much time and effort on your website. I don't know about how you shop, but I oftentimes add stuff to my cart, get distracted, go and do something else, and then never come back.
All the time.
So definitely need a cart abandonment email or a flow going just to get those people back in the door. After that, I would 100%, you want to have a browse abandonment flow. So those are people that are a little higher up in the funnel. They visited your site. Maybe they didn't add anything to the cart, but they spent some time looking around. So like they're obviously pretty interested too. And then after that, I mean, I would definitely recommend like I said, some sort of email capture opportunity. You can have a sign up in the bottom corner of your website. You can put something up in the nav bar, sign up and get 15% off your first order. You can do the full screen takeover. Some brands love to do. But at the end of the day, you just want to give people the opportunity to give you their email address and get them opted into your list so you can start sending them those browse and cart abandonment emails.
Okay, so I get this question all the time. So just in case you have a different answer or to inform the audience about this, what email address should they use for email marketing? Should they use their main email address, or should they use an alternative email address?
Oh, interesting. Whatever email address you use, it has to be a replyable email address. Those no reply at whatever website.com emails are horrible. And you want to make it as easy as possible for your customers to communicate with you. Maybe they're going to want to ask an order question. Maybe they have a product question, or maybe they just want to say, hey, what's up? Like, what are you guys doing today? Who knows? But you want to make it as easy as possible for them to reply. So to what email address should you use? I wouldn't use my personal email address because then your inbox is just going to get blown up and you'll never be able to stay on top of tasks. So for us, we're using a generic, I think it's nomad@nomadgoods.com. So like that doesn't go to anybody's inbox. It goes straight to CS, and the CS team can manage any of those responses that are coming in.
Okay.
That said, every now and again, I will send an email coming straight from the CEO's email address or my own email address on occasion when it seems appropriate. So like if we're doing an email at the beginning of the year, or like recently, we just had our 10-year anniversary sale. I think one of the emails was like a text-based email, a letter from the CEO, basically. And for authenticity's sake, we sent it from his email address.
Okay, so let's say we set up that's great. We set up the flows. You mentioned the first party data is like, getting data from people, navigating the website. Okay.
Yeah, you spend a lot of money getting people to your website, and with the lack of transparency on the pixel data nowadays, it's harder to retarget people. It's Brian comes to my site and visits for a little bit and then goes off to Facebook. In the old days, I could just go retarget you with Facebook ads. I can't do that now. So I need to set up or start gathering my own data that I can then act upon. So that's why, like I was saying, it's really important to have some sort of email capture or phone number capture mechanism on your site so you can get people signed up to your list and start sharing information with them, or sync that email list with your Facebook account, Meta account, and run your own retargeting ads based on that. There's a lot of value in having your own data available.
Yeah. And what's probably some of the tips you could give someone listening to grow the email list? Let's say they want to do everything you're saying, but they say, I don't have anyone in my list, or I have only a handful of people. How can they go about it?
You can do list generation ads, going back to Meta. You can try to build it out that way. You can do giveaways. You partner up with like-minded brands, give away, $100 each in some sort of store credit. Those work pretty well, but I will mention there are a ton of websites out there that are dedicated just to giveaways, where people are just sharing information about giveaways that are existing on the web and constantly signing up. So you do get a lot of bad leads doing that. But you also can get a lot of valuable leads. So it's kind of a pro con. You just got to have that in mind. You can run giveaways via your social channels and have people sign up. You know, you can use like Gleam as a tool we've used in the past where we build out a landing page and people can sign up, promote it on social media, like win a free iPhone or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's just time and effort, driving traffic to your website, having that email capture opportunity, and just doing it and doing it and doing it. And eventually that list will grow. It's just one of those things you can't go out and buy a random list online because that's just it's not helpful. So you just got to organically grow it, and it'll take time.
Do you have do you have a rule, like a rule of thumb? I know it depends on many factors, right? But it's like a best practice for those listening to, I mean, build the flows. Should they probably add at least, I don't know, 3 emails in their flows or more? Should they always include a discount, or is it better based on your experience if they include a discount? Is it from the get-go in the first, I don't know, abandoned cart email they send, or is it in the third? What do you think about that?
All right. So the first part of the question, like number of emails per flow, you'll see whatever email service or email marketing platform you're using oftentimes has pre-built flows that'll have like, here's email 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes it goes up to 5. For me, I try to pare it down quite a bit just so I'm not really, I don't want to blow people's inboxes up. You know, like I expect brands to respect my time. So I'm going to respect my consumers' time or my customers' time as well. So for me, like in a browse and cart abandonment email flow, I think is only 2 emails long. It's pretty short, maybe 3, but I think it's mostly just 2. But that kind of goes against industry best practices too. So you got to kind of weigh pros and cons for yourself as a company and figure out what works best for you. You could build out a long 5-part series, run it for a while and see how it goes, and check out your unsubscribe or spam complaint data. And if you're getting an abnormally high unsubscribe rate on the 3rd email, then you know, okay, I'm probably abusing people's inboxes a little bit, so let's not do that anymore. As for discounts, that's a hard one to answer. It depends on your brand and your margins and what your goal is. Like if you just want to generate a ton of conversions and don't really care about profit margin, give discounts out all over the website if that's your goal. But generally speaking, I would say like, no, don't offer a discount necessarily on the first cart abandonment email. Save it for the last one, and hopefully the person comes back and makes a purchase on that first email. You don't ever have to give a discount. That said, when it comes to email signups, like doing an email capture promotion on your website, I found those do perform best with a discount. You just got to decide kind of what's most or what rate is valuable to you. You know, some companies do like the little spin to win widget. I'm not personally a huge fan of that. But you could do like a mystery discount. You can do a 10% offer. You can offer people to sign up for some sort of newsletter that provides value in a non-monetary way to them. You just got to figure out something, but definitely having some sort of offer helps with email signups.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about. You know, you said, some people will probably flag as spam or unsubscribe. So, an email list is dynamic. You get new people, and you get people, unsubscribing. So do you need to do something about it, or do you just need to grow your list and never look back and keep sending emails to all of them?
So you want to keep growing the list, of course. If someone unsubscribes, that's fine. But like I said earlier, use that data to inform the way you're going about your marketing. If you see a certain type of email gets a really high unsub rate, or like the 5th email in a flow has a really high unsub rate, use that to decide, okay, maybe I'm not going to do that anymore. But as far as like grow your list and just, batch and blast it all the time, no, you don't want to do that either. Because for me, I've had probably 10 emails in the last 10 years from, different businesses or whatever. So the email someone signs up with today, they might not be using in 6 months. So sending them an email trying to get them to buy something over and over and over again isn't going to help anything. And moreover, the email service providers are watching that data. So they're seeing if like, hey, this company keeps emailing this abandoned email account, they're going to realize that you're just spamming people, and your deliverability is going to go down ultimately. But they're also watching like open rates and click rates, and they're seeing, okay, like actually the content this company is sending is getting really high open rates. So people in general must be interested in it. So let's prioritize that. Let's not bury it in the spam folder. Let's not bury it in the promotions tab kind of thing.
Do you do some like a sort of, cleanup every once in a while with those idle email addresses? Maybe they haven't unsubscribed. They are still valid, but, they don't ever open
Yeah.
the emails were act on things. So what do you do about it, and how
So for
often?
me, I never get rid of email addresses, but what I'll do is I'll stop sending to people. And I have my Klaviyo account set up, or my active marketing list basically is people who have engaged with email, clicked email, or been to the website in the last, I think it's 130 days right now. And my thought is, if you haven't opened a single one of our emails or clicked a single one of our emails in the last 130 days, you probably aren't interested, because we email at least once a week. So I'm not gonna keep bothering you. So those people are still technically opted into my email list. I could send them emails, and I've tried sending them emails after the fact, and it doesn't usually go well. But ultimately, having that active send list of people that are heavily engaged has really helped with our open rates over time. So like right now, we're sitting at like a 50-ish% open rate for every email we send, which is just bonkers for the industry.
So what's the average, would you say?
The average industry average?
Yeah.
I think last time I checked, for like newsletter type businesses, it's like 15-20%. For e-commerce brands, I think it's like 25-30%.
Yours is 50?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like yesterday was the iPhone launch, and we sent out our iPhone case email. And yeah, I think when I looked at it this morning, I had like a 55% open rate.
Wow, that's crazy. And is that for the flows or for the regular campaigns you send, for the regular,
Those
right?
those are for regular campaigns. Those go out at least once a week. We send a campaign email, either to product launch or some branding email, or a flash sale or something like that.
So once a week is a good cadence for a brand. I mean, it could go as, you can send emails as often as you want, but once
Yeah.
a week is okay.
Once a week is what I do. I've heard a lot of companies do twice a week. Given the general sales downturn over the summer, I did bump it up to twice a week. I was able to kind of recycle older email content. Like we keep talking about, your email list is dynamic, so that the people that are on your list now probably didn't get that email you sent in January to the other part of your list. So you're able to kind of recycle content over the year. So I did a lot of that over the summer, and it was pretty helpful with driving extra revenue.
And what's the average open rate for automated flows, more or less?
Honestly, I haven't looked at the data in a while, but I would assume it's about the same.
Okay.
With the exception of like, I have some flows that are like as people are getting migrated off my list, I'll send like a last ditch email, like, please come back, come buy something. Here's a big coupon. And that one, like they're right at the cutoff of getting bumped off our email active send list anyways. So those have a terrible open rate. But generally speaking, I'd say it's probably in the 50 range.
Okay. And for those listening, still wondering, should I make this effort and pursue this, email marketing thing? What can they tell them? Is it worth it? How much revenue, or what percentage of the overall revenue for your business does it represent?
Yeah, no, I mean, when I started doing email marketing 8 years ago, I thought there's no way this is going to last. Like people are going to get tired of it. They're going to stop buying. They're not going to care. 8 years later, it's still huge. It's going to continue being so, I believe. But for us, it's like 20-ish% of revenue is driven through email.
Wow.
At least when I use like the Klaviyo attribution model, it's like a 5-day engagement attribution model, which is pretty conservative. So I'll take that 20% convert, or 20% of revenue basically through email.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I think it plays, I'd love to know your thought about it, but I think it plays a big role in today's, context, let's say for e-commerce brands, where acquisition costs are getting higher and higher, and it's tougher to reach new audiences, and those who are visiting your website already, and those who are giving you their email addresses or even phone numbers in some cases. It's great data to, increase LTV, AOV, and many things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then knowing that someone bought an iPhone case last year and having their contact information means it's going to be that much easier to sell them a case this year.
You mentioned something. You mentioned, reading between lines. This last comment. You mentioned a product type or a category. The phone cases. It's not the entire e-commerce. It's not all the previous buyers. So you can actually build segments for each kind of buyer, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, within Klaviyo, I'll build segments based on purchase behavior or category that they're shopping in. For us, since we're heavily focused on the iPhone ecosystem or Apple ecosystem, everyone's kind of interested in everything. But at the same time, I can say like, hey, these 100 people bought Apple Watch straps, but they haven't bought an Apple Watch charger from us yet. So let's build out an email campaign specifically for them, acknowledging the fact that they bought an Apple Watch strap and suggesting one of our chargers. And then the inverse is true as well. So as you grow your business and as you grow your product offerings and your customer base, you get a lot of really neat opportunities for segmentation and targeted marketing efforts.
Yeah, that's gold. And then something else you mentioned earlier about, syncing, Klaviyo with Meta or Facebook, Instagram, whatever, right? You can actually, for those listening, you can build audiences. Like it's both ways, right? You can generate leads through Facebook lead forms if you want to grow your list, and then have them imported into your Klaviyo account. And you can also feed Facebook /Meta/ Instagram. You get it's not our fault, it's theirs, right? For confusing them. So you can build audiences in Meta from your
so like a concrete example of that is, like I said, iPhone just came out yesterday, iPhone 14. So I built out a segment of people who bought iPhone 13 cases from us last year, synced that with Facebook, and now I'm advertising to those people specifically and separate from all my broad targeting audiences in Facebook. So that way I know I'm getting in front of my iPhone 13 people.
That's great. And what about Facebook? I mean, it's still working for you guys?
Facebook?
Yeah.
I mean, like when it comes to like actual content on Facebook, like my Facebook profile, I don't spend a lot of effort or time there. I just basically cross post whatever's on Instagram. But advertising in the Meta ecosystem, I don't differentiate really between Instagram or Facebook or any of the other ad offerings. I just build a campaign and say, put it everywhere. Like find the audience, find the targeting. I don't care. Like I don't care if someone from Facebook buys it or someone from Instagram buys it. The only exception there is I will build out campaigns that are specifically for stories. And I'll either target it towards Instagram or Facebook, depending on what I want to do.
So you've seen a difference between doing only stories than stories plus the feed plus other placements?
Yeah, so oftentimes what I'll do is I'll build out a campaign that will target everything, just broad whatever, but then I'll also build out a secondary campaign that's only for stories and reels for that matter. Just because everyone's spending all their time on there, Instagram's pushing everyone towards stories and reels. I want to make sure that my content's also ending up there and not getting lost on like the right-hand bar or on Facebook Marketplace or some other, one of the other advertising tools.
Okay, great. One of the things that we have been discussing here with some guests is that, no brand is an island, or no brand should be one. We should be collaborating with others, getting our message out there and partnering up with cool people and all the stuff. So besides email marketing and paid ads and organic, social marketing, what can brands do to, get new customers or retain the ones that they have?
For me, I spend a ton of time on PR, and then as an extension of that, influencer marketing. But I'm focused on it in a more PR centric way. So like a lot of people, they say, I want to do influencer marketing. I'm going to find a category and just send a ton of product out to influencers in that category. Or they're going to pay for really expensive, someone with 1 million followers on Instagram or whatever to promote their product. Same for TikTok. For me, I'm looking at it as establishing like PR relationships where I'm reaching out to influencers, but then also traditional media players and YouTubers, content creators, and just trying to establish those relationships, seed product, and get Nomad in front of a broad swath of the community, both on like print media, digital media, YouTube, and then on the social channels. And I think doing that allows us, it's one of those things, it's hard to measure the performance of it, but it gives us a lot of opportunity to get in front of people repeatedly. So maybe they see my ad on Facebook, then they see some content creator posting about it on Instagram. They Google it, a YouTube video comes up from another creator that talks about the product. And then also, there's all these news articles from like, whatever, TechCrunch or Engadget talking about the brand as well. So it's like, it all kind of feeds into itself as like a big amalgamation of promotion.
Yeah, I mean, is that the user journey is really complex. The old days were thinking that people will see an ad and buy it right away. Of course, some people might do that, but it's not the common, scenario, right?
Yeah.
So It's like you guys, I always say the same thing for those listening. I always say the same thing. It's like, who told you to watch this movie or this TV show? It's like, okay, last night I had dinner with my father and he told me to watch this movie. But then
Yeah,
the week before, I had lunch with my brother and he told me to watch it. And then a friend told me, so who told me to watch this movie in the end? Like all of them. Like,
yeah,
okay, but one of them like was like the final reminder. But yeah, right. But there are many things that we can measure and many other things that, I mean, regardless of, we use with many clients different attribution tools. I will name a
mhm,
few only, like Triple Whale, Rockerbox, Hyros, and
yeah,
more, right? And none of them is entirely right because it depends on the
mhm,
lens that you put on to understand that reality, let's say, because
exactly.
there's no such thing as 100% accuracy. So
No,
it's really complex, and some brands forget about that. It's like, hey, this is not working, and or because we cannot measure that, we are not going to do it, and they are missing out on many cool things they could
mhm,
be doing because of that.
yeah,
So yeah, just wanted to say that.
yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, the post-purchase survey has been really illuminating for me. It validates the money I'm spending on Meta. It has shown me like, hey, we're getting a lot of or a lot of people finding out about us on YouTube. Let's focus more effort there. Or like I think 20% of our customers find out about us from friends and family. So now we're building out a loyalty program, a referral program, so people to further incentivize people to spread the word about the brand. But like you said, there's no clear way to go about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to try and figure it out.
I'm curious about the survey. Do you use an app to do it? Do you manually do it through code?
Yeah, we're using an app called No Attribution, I believe it's called KNO. But there's like I'm sure there's a ton of different Shopify apps that are doing the same kind of thing.
Do you ask the customer more questions? Is that the only one you ask?
I'll ask a follow-up question. So I think so the primary question is where did you first learn about Nomad? And the options, it's multi-choice, or no, it's single choice. It's like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, podcast, physical store, because I'm curious to see like how many people are learning about us in actual brick and mortar, and then other. And then if they answer YouTube, the follow-up question will be which channel. Or if they say Instagram, I'll say what account, physical store, which store, just so I can kind of get a little bit more granular data and find. The cool thing about that is like asking which YouTube creator did you find out about us from. There's people that are buying our products and promoting it on YouTube without me ever interacting with them on a PR level. So I can find out about that via this survey and then reach out to them and establish a relationship and get them more gear so they can talk about the brand further.
The good thing is that if you ask people to fill out something, of course, some of them won't do, but many
Yeah,
people will do and give you a lot of like
yeah,
golden nuggets to work with,
yeah.
do,
No, for
to
me,
do
I think
more with an influencer or to do more of what's working, right?
yeah. Now for us, I think we get like a 25% response rate with there's no incentive. I'm not going to offer you a discount on the next order. I'm curious, and it's not the safest thing in the world to extrapolate 25% of your user base to 100%, but you can kind of do that and get a pretty good picture of like how things are performing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So, I don't know, is there anything you guys are working on? I don't know, maybe something you've been doing forever or something that you're currently working on or just started doing?
I'm testing physical mailers right now. Really excited about that. I feel like with the privacy updates that are going into e-commerce right now, everything old is new again. So we're returning to the idea of catalogs or postcards or whatever it may be. I'm in the very infant stages of testing, uh, but so far results are looking pretty positive. I'm running a large scale test right now with iPhone 14 cases where I'm mailing out. I built a segment of I think 10, 12,000 individuals that bought a iPhone 12 or 13 case from us, but are unsubscribed from email. So they're not going to get any of our email marketing about the new iPhone. I'm doing a 50% holdout. So I'm going to send a physical mailer to 5,000 people, and then I'm going to compare data in like a month and see, okay,
Great.
like of 50%, how many people bought naturally, how many people with the postcard purchased, and then, do a comparison lift study and
You
figure
know,
out statistically significant.
that's great. We used to work for a company like those, one of these providers, the mail service providers.
Mm-hmm.
And we received a lot of great feedback from e-commerce stores
Mm-hmm.
among other industries, because if you think about it, the email channel is so crowded with many things, and there are a lot of filters, folders, you can,
Mm-hmm.
spam,
Yeah.
promotion, social, many others.
Yeah.
Um, but then mail, is more intrusive, it's not crowded, and it feels, I mean,
It's a little more
I don't
expensive
remember
too.
I'm sorry.
It's more expensive too, so you got to have a little more skin in the game to do it. So in theory, should remain somewhat uncrowded for a while.
Yeah, and something someone told me, I remember who, I don't know if it was this client or someone else I talked to, is that basically when you receive a piece of, something in the mail and it's good and attractive, you save it, right? Even if
Exactly.
it's a postcard, and then an email, I don't know, delete it, archive it, or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah. How often do you forward an email to a friend like, "Look at this piece of marketing. It was amazing." I mean, for us,
yeah,
probably a little bit because we were in the industry, but
yeah,
nobody else does.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything we had for today, and it was
Cool.
more than interesting for me, and I hope it was really interesting for the audience because, guys, this is really actionable. I know it's Q4, really exciting times for e-commerce brands, and even more this year, right? So you need to make
Mhm.
the most. So any final tip or advice for them for Q4?
Uh, Plan early and plan robustly. It's going to be busy. It's going to be crazy. Everyone's inboxes are going to be blown up. So just if you're not working on a plan yet, start ASAP. I'm working on mine right now, and it's end of middle of
For
September.
sure. Hey,
Yeah.
to wrap up, do you have any mentors or probably, I don't know, industry influencers you follow or brands you admire that you want to mention?
Yeah. So for me, actually, I try not to delve too deep into the influencer or mentor or book space. I know that's going to sound controversial for everyone who listens to marketing podcasts, but my favorite thing to do is reach out to brands that I admire in many different verticals that are working in e-commerce and try to connect with someone in their marketing department. Get on the phone, spend half an hour just comparing notes and see what's working for them. You could talk to the social media associate at a big company and learn a lot from them. You can talk to the marketing director or the VP of marketing at a mid-level company and learn a ton from them. You can talk to someone that's just getting started and learn a lot because fresh eyes and fresh perspective from different industries goes a long way to growing your knowledge base and ultimately helping you perform as a better marketer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, some people read, that's great, but
Mhm.
many people who read and many people who don't read too don't connect with
Mhm.
their colleagues, with with other people doing the exact same thing they do and
Yeah.
get feedback from them, insights. People love sharing that. If you give, they will
Mhm.
give too. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
an amazing thing to do.
Yeah. So reach out on social media to people, reach out on LinkedIn, just find businesses that you think are cool or doing interesting stuff and try to connect with someone there and see what you can
Yeah.
learn. Ultimately, I
Yeah,
think it's the best.
we do. By the way, we do belong to an e-commerce community in the U.S. They go by Build, Grow, Scale.
Mhm.
They are big in the game in the industry. So I wanted to give them a shout out because they've been
Yeah.
really helping us and our clients with many things. So they
Great.
do a great job. So yeah, you've been great. Thank
Yeah.
you a lot for being here on the show. So please tell me, where can people go to learn more about you and about Nomad?
So if you want to check out Nomad, they're nomadgoods.com or at Nomad on Instagram. If you want to find me, I'm Chuck Melber at LinkedIn or Chuck This Out on Instagram if you want to hit me up there. But Instagram has nothing marketing related for me. It's all like fishing and outdoors and stuff.
That's awesome. Thanks again, Chuck. You've been great.
No, it was great. I appreciate it.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.